Welcome back to Leeds Lately. If you are new here and you like Leeds United content, transfers, analysis, tactics, live streams, all of that good stuff, then you know what to do down below. But today's video is another transfer video. We are really ramping things up now at Leeds United, and we have been linked with two more central midfielders. The first, Gruev from Werder Bremen, the 23-year-old, is a holding midfielder, and we'll get into him a little bit later on. And then we've also got Matt O'Riley, the Danish 22-year-old central midfielder from Celtic. Now, it's important to get this out of the way straight away. They are not being signed to play the same role. Gruev is more of an Ampadu backup. Certainly you would think so with the way he plays. When you look on FB Ref at the players that he's compared to, you're starting to see people like Idrissa Gana Gueye, Boubacar Kamara, Remo Freuler, Oliver Skipp, Julian Weigl, Sally Ozcan. So yes, all of the sort of players who are going to play in that holding midfield role. He's more of a tough tackler, a bit of a destroyer. He's able to get the ball down to feet and pass to the players around him. Not particularly technical or great at going forward. You can see that from his stats. But then you start to look at his actual tackles and pass completion and stuff like that. Pass completion 85.5%, very good, very decent for a ball playing possession based team. So you'd think that he would sit in that midfield very well if he did have to come in for Ampadu in cup games. I know we've just gone out of the Carabao Cup, but if the FA Cup comes around, and in other games where Ampadu isn't maybe quite match fit, you'd think he would do an okay job in there, managing to keep hold of possession. He does carry the ball sometimes, 1.53 carries per 90 progressive carries. That puts him in the 58th percentile, so that is not the worst stat to have. At least he carries the ball forward sometimes, if not all the time. And then when you look at his tackles, 2.39, interceptions 1.16, and blocks 1.29. That puts him in the 69th, 62nd, and 58th percentile. So he's a quite average Bundesliga holding midfielder, but I think he would be basically a very good backup for what we need in this system. Having him sitting in that holding midfield role as an Ampadu backup, I think it's a very doable deal. Apparently Werder Bremen want the money in so that they can go out and buy their prime target. So yeah, Gruev for me is a no-brainer. For only a couple of £1 million, I think we'd be able to get him for. I think he'd be a very good Ampadu backup, and hopefully this one gets done. Obviously, there's still Tanaka waiting in the wings. I probably prefer to have Tanaka in there, but Gruev again is one that could sit in there and be a backup for Ethan Ampadu. Now, like I said, the other one is Matt O'Riley, who's a little bit more of a box-to-box midfielder who would like to get forward as well, more in the Archie Gray role, and then maybe potentially pushing into that number 10 role as well. You can see, again, like I said on FB Ref, the way that they are compared to other players. He's now compared to Conor Gallagher, Yusuf Fofana, Aaron Ramsey, Joe Linton, and some other players, Daichi Kamada as well. Players who are a little bit more of number 8s who like to get forward, and you can see that it bears out in his stats. Non-penalty XG 0.17 per 90 for a central midfielder. That puts him in the 88th percentile, so that's really good from him being able to get forward and having shots as well. He's not afraid to take a shot. 2.99 shots per 90 for a central midfielder puts him in the 99th percentile of respective leagues. So that puts him in the top 1% of midfielders taking shots. So he does like to have a go at goal, and that's why his non-penalty XG is also so high, because he does actually go for it and try and have a few attempts from distance, which not the end of the world. We haven't seen that really from any Leeds players over the last couple of years. So I think I would like to see somebody come in and have a go doing that a little bit more. But he is also a bit of a tough tackler as well, proper box-to-box classic midfielder that you would expect. He's actually makes a lot of tackles, interception and blocks, 3.37 tackles per 90, 2.06 interceptions per 90 and 1.68 blocks per 90, which puts him in the 96th, 99th and 88th percentile for those stats. So if we could get him, it would be a really, really good sign. He's only 22. He's Danish, but he was actually born in Hounslow, apparently. But yeah, it's a tricky one though, because he will be playing European football this season if he stays at Celtic. He's only 22, doesn't necessarily need to make his move to the English leagues yet, so it remains to be seen on this one. But I know that our fellow Leeds content creators, Lockie Leeds, if you want to go and check out him out, he's great, and Andrea Russo, go and follow him on Twitter, the Italian Leeds fan. They both rate Matt O'Riley very highly, and so do I. I think he's a potential. I know he's 22, but still, you sort of class him in that wonder kid category. He's got potential to have a very, very high ceiling. So if Leeds were able to get him in now and get him to help take us back to the Premier League, you've got to feel like he would just flourish in this system, and playing at Leeds United in general. So I think these two players would be very good for me. If there was a priority, it would be to go and try and get Matt O'Riley. I'd definitely have him over Glenn Kamara as well. Glenn Kamara obviously has been linked for so long now, but I'd certainly rather have Matt O'Riley over Glenn Kamara, because I just feel that Matt O'Riley gives you more attacking wise and defensively. He's better all round than what Glenn Kamara is. Obviously, like I said, Gruev is for a bit of a different role, and it would be the similar role to what you would expect Ao Tanaka to come in and play. So for me, apparently, by the way, the video I recorded yesterday saying that Tanaka had picked up an injury in training, Leeds were trying to wait out and see how bad it was to see whether they still wanted to go in for him. Apparently, he is now fine and back in training, according to reports. So it could be that we pull the trigger on that one, because I know that Daniel Farke was very interested in Ao Tanaka coming in and bolstering our midfield. But to me, Gruev would be a good option to sit on the bench. I think he'd probably be a little bit more willing to sit on the bench given his age and given who's ahead of him in terms of Ethan Ampadu. But for me, the better player would be Ao Tanaka, and I think we should try and bring him in and eventually bring him into the first team, because I think he'd be an excellent player for us. If you want to know more about him, I did a video on him the other day, just him, talking about how he would play and what sort of player he is. But yes, Matt O'Riley, similar in terms of build and stature actually to Ao Tanaka, good upper body strength, strong in the tackle, good at going forward, has a lot of shots from distance, and tries to get forward as well as a sort of third man runs into the box. So yeah, he would offer something different to what Archie Gray does, because Archie Gray obviously offers his tough tackling and his good passing distribution as well, but he doesn't necessarily get into the box and try and have shots as much. He has one or two, maybe had one against Salford last night, but I do think that Matt O'Riley could come in there and offer us a little bit of a different option, which is what I like to see. I like to see when we go out for a transfer that it's not just a carbon copy of who we've already got in that position. It's somebody who can potentially offer something a little bit different, and that way when you do make substitutions, it's that you can actually make a material difference in the game by bringing on a different type of player. Even, for example, you've got Joel Perreault up front, slightly different style of striker to what Bamford is, and when Bamford's fit, you could bring him back on if you wanted a bit more hold-up play and ability to bring other players into the attack. Bamford will be a good option for that, but in general, you probably want to play Joel Perreault because he's a much better finisher and his attacking position is a lot better. So from that sort of example, you can see what I mean. You might have Archie Gray on, distributing the ball well, and when we actually need to go and get a goal and we need to get people into the attack more, you might bring Matt O'Riley on and try to get him marauding forwards into the box and helping out with those attackers, and then you have Ethan Ampadu sitting back a little bit with the defenders. Obviously, we've also signed Jed Spence on a loan deal now for a year, £1 million loan fee. I think he's going to really bolster our defensive options, and getting forward as well, he's going to be excellent for us, overlapping and underlapping on that right wing in that right back position. So I think all in all, we're recruiting really well. We've only got a couple of days left of the window, but keep an eye on these two that I've mentioned in this video, because I think certainly Matt O'Riley could be an excellent player for Leeds United. But that is today's transfer update. There shall be more content in the coming days as it is coming towards the end of the window, like I say, so look out for that on the channel. Hit that big red button down below, and I shall see you in the next Leeds Lately video. Thanks for watching.